Hello and welcome to Striper School's presentation of the unique life and attributes of Moroni saxatilis. I'm Doug Kalish, and I'm the founder of Striper School. You know, striped bass are an important sport fish to anglers, and they also play an important role in the environment. Today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the unique life and attributes of striped bass, and how the Department of Natural Resources manages striped bass populations. Striped bass are members of what the fisheries scientists call the temperate bass family. This small group has 5 members, most of which have horizontal bars across their body. These members include white bass, which are common in reservoirs and rivers. The average white bass weighs about 1 pound. Yellow bass are very similar in size and appearance as the white bass, but its coloration is more yellow than white. White perch are very common in coastal rivers. They're usually very small in size and seldom weigh more than 1/2 pound. Hybrid bass is a man-made species that is produced at DNR hatcheries. Hybrid bass are made by combining the eggs of a female white bass with the sperm of a male striped bass. Hybrid bass are very popular with anglers because they're relatively easy to catch, they're strong fighters, and can reach a large size, sometimes up to 20 pounds. And finally, the striped bass, the largest and last member of the temperate bass family. The key features of a striped bass are the 7 or 8 rows of black horizontal stripes that run the length of the body. These stripes are usually not broken, but that's not always the case. Beneath the black lines, the skin is generally white or silvery in color, but it may have shades of steel blue to light green near the upper body. If you opened the mouth of the striped bass, you would see another distinguishing feature. Located on the tongue are 2 small patches of sandpaper-like teeth. Striped bass are strong swimmers, and they're most often found roaming the open water with other stripers. Striped bass can average up to 7 miles of travel per day. Striped bass are naturally found along the Atlantic coast from Florida to Canada, and also the Gulf Coast from Florida to Texas. Because of their popularity among anglers as a sport fish, striped bass have been stocked into the Pacific coast states and into many freshwater lakes throughout the United States. When the water temperature reaches 60 degrees Fahrenheit, sometime in March or early April, the males swim as much as 180 miles upstream in just a few days to find the swift flowing waters located in shallow rocky shoals, like those pictured here. Males may arrive at the spawning grounds several weeks before the females, but when she arrives at the spawning grounds, she'll be surrounded by a small group of male stripers. At just the right time, she releases between 500,000 and 4 million eggs into the swift flowing water. The number of eggs depends upon the size and age of the female. As the eggs are released, the males release sperm into the water. The union of sperm and egg brings life to the newly fertilized egg. Over the next 48 to 72 hours, the developing egg must remain suspended in the water column to successfully develop and hatch out as a striped bass fry. If the eggs do not remain afloat in the current, they will settle to the bottom and die. In the wild populations of coastal rivers where natural reproduction does occur, the newly hatched fry are carried downstream by the river currents. And for a few days, fry are continually nourished by a tiny yolk sac, until they're able to swim around and catch food for themselves. Once the yolk sac is absorbed, the fry have become strong enough to freely swim around in search of microscopic organisms called zooplankton. The young grow very quickly on a diet of zooplankton, and within a few weeks they have grown from an unhatched egg into a small fish about 1 inch long. As young stripers begin feeding on small fish like threadfin shad, gizzard shad, and blueback herring, they will grow to a length of about 10 inches in their first year. After their second birthday, male stripers will make their first migration to the spawning grounds in the spring with the other adult stripers. Female striped bass cannot produce ripe eggs until they're about 3 years old, so they have to wait another year before they're ready to join the males on their first spawning migration. Like most fish, females grow larger than males, and under ideal growing conditions, a 20 to 30-year-old female striped bass can weigh as much as 100 pounds. The giant 60-pound striper pictured here was caught from Lake Hartwell. The largest striped bass ever landed was caught by a commercial fisherman in 1891 from an estuary in North Carolina. That fish weighed 125 pounds. During our nation's early history, striped bass were so abundant that they were a major food source for Native American Indians and European settlers. Native and early Americans would catch striped bass in crude nets and traps or hook and line, and then dry the fillets into strips like jerky.